You might not get what you expected with this lens and extender combo. Hello, my name is Rich Dyson from Edinburgh Photography Workshop, and this is Coffee Break Photography. I bought the excellent Canon RF100 to 500 lens a couple of months ago. It's a great piece of glass and helped me get some fantastic images recently when I was shooting red squirrels and red kites up in Argotty near Stirling. I recommend a trip to this farm and booking a few hours in their hide. Whilst this lens is a great focal distance, sometimes you want a little more. And so rather than buying an even longer lens, the other option is to purchase an extender. Canon produces two extenders, a 1.4 times and 2 times. They can only be used on a select number of lenses in the Canon RF range. And as the name suggests, they extend the focal distance to the lens they're attached to by either 1.4 or 2 times. The downside of using an extender is that for the 1.4 times extender, you'll lose 1 stop of light from the aperture and 2 stops when using the 2 times extender. For this reason, extenders are always going to be a compromise. I bought a 1.4 extender at the same time as I purchased the RF100 to 500 lens, but it's only this week that I've actually used them together. And at first I had a problem, and after searching Google, many other photographers have had it too. I attached the extender to my camera and then tried to attach the lens to the extender, but it just wouldn't go on. Nervously I checked Canon's website to see if I'd missed the fact that the lens wasn't compatible with the extender. It is one of the compatible lenses, but then I noticed the extra few words that told me where the issue was. And in fairness, it's a user error, not Canon's. Before I show you the solution, let me show you my old EF version of the extender. As you can see, it's a little more slimline than the RF version, without this protruding bit at the lens side. The EF extender was compatible with almost all the longer lenses from the 70 to 200 all the way up to the enormous beast like the 1200mm lens. And attaching the extender made the focal distance from 70 to 200mm to 98mm to 280mm. When buying the RF extender, I expected that the 100 to 500 lens would be extended to 140mm at the widest to 700mm at the longest, but it doesn't. The protruding bit on the RF extender restricts the part of the zoom that can be used from 300mm to 500mm. To attach the lens to the extender, you first need to zoom it to 300mm, then it will rotate on. As I said, Canon is open and honest about this. It's on the web page for the extender and it's in the manual. It's just that we probably don't read these things closely enough before purchasing. So with this lens and extender combo, you're actually getting a 100 to 500 without the extender, and then a 420 to 700 with the extender. As I said earlier, extenders are a compromise where you lose a stop of light, but there's another way to extend your reach on RF cameras without losing a stop, which will result in another compromise. In the shooting menu, there is an option for cropping aspect ratio. Inside this option you've got 5 choices, and by taking the option 1.6 you've increased the zoom by a factor of 1.6. You'll also see the widest aperture on your lens remains the same, and it remains the same throughout the zoom. So for our 100 to 500 zoom, we now have a 160 to 800 zoom, and we haven't lost anything from the aperture. Excellent, you think? I've saved all that money buying an extender and getting a better range. Well, not quite. This mode crops into the frame to give the effect of a zoom, so the file size at 1.6 will reduce. For example, on the R5 without 1.6 selected, the file size will be approximately 44.8 megapixels, but with it selected, it'll reduce to 17.3 megapixels. You could do the same thing in your editing software after the event and get the same effect. The interesting thing with these two approaches is the effect on the depth of field we'll see in our pictures. Contrary to most popular thought, depth of field isn't just influenced by the aperture. The distance from the subject, the zoom you're using, and the sensor being used will also affect the depth of field we'll experience in the shot. The PhotoPills app is a great way to show how all these variables change the depth of field. So let's look at the effect of the 100 to 500 lens at the long end of the zoom on a subject 10 meters away with a full frame camera like the R5. Because we're at the longest end of the zoom, the biggest aperture we can achieve is f7.1, and you can see the depth of field is measured at 16 centimeters. Now let's add on the 1.4 times extender, but as we lose a stop on the aperture, I've changed the value to f10. The zoom has also increased to 700 millimeters, and this combination reduces the depth of field to 11 centimeters. So even though we have made the aperture smaller, the zoom has helped to give a shallower depth of field. Let's remove the extender and use the in-camera 1.6 times extender. Using the in-camera crop essentially converts the R5 from a full-frame sensor camera to a crop sensor camera like the R50. So let's return the focal distance to 500mm and the aperture to f7.1, but change the camera to the R50. The depth of field has now been reduced to 10 centimeters. So what can I take from this? Both ways of increasing the reach of the Canon 100 to 500 lens are valid. They'll both have a similar effect on the depth of field, albeit the in-camera cropping approach would give us more reach, increasing from 700mm to 800mm. The downside of the in-camera approach is that you will lose pixels in your image. The downside of the converter approach is that you'll keep the pixels, but the zoom range will be reduced to a 420mm to 700mm lens, instead of the 160mm to 800mm lens using the cropping effect. If pixels are more important to you, the extender will be the best option. If you know you'll mainly be shooting at the long end of an extended zoom and won't do much cropping after the event, then the in-camera cropping would work best. Of course, an even more extended option is to combine the two. Theoretically, you could have a 672mm to 1120mm lens, outputting 17 megapixel photos at f10, and the depth of field will reduce even more to just 7 centimeters. As I've said several times, we must make compromises in photography. I'd love to hear your comments below on the best compromises for you with this combination of camera, lens and extender. If you've enjoyed this video, click on the subscribe button here. You'll also do me a favour by giving the video a like. It helps YouTube push a few more people my way. You can sign up for my monthly newsletter using the link below this video. My name is Rich Dyson from Edinburgh Photography Workshop, and this has been Coffee Break Photography. See you next time.